Hey, folks, welcome back. Happy New Year. Kind of a little bit late for Happy New Year on January 11th, but regardless, we have not been around very much, but we're very excited to bring you Season 7, Episode 11 of the Chicago Rinkcast, brought to you by therink.com. My name's Andy Campbell. My buddies are back. Everyone's here. Everyone's finally healthy. We haven't had a podcast in about 3 weeks, but now everyone's feeling good. We've been on the IR, just like the Hawks have been, not feeling good, not looking too good, except Sean, who always looks good. And so we're here to talk some Blackhawk hockey and some other stuff. With me are the usual suspects. Sean Fitzgerald with your classic Rink hat tonight.
My classic Rink hat, yep.
Classic Rink hat. What prompted that? Just kind of new year, new Sean, we're back.
New year. I'm doing hat a day on my Instagram. It's private, but if you want to follow me, I've worn a different hat every day for 11 days this year. I'm going to try to do all 365 days and take a photo with myself wearing the hat. So today, in honor of the Rink and the Rinkcast, I decided to go with the classic Rink. And there will be a photo, and then I will post, 1 second a day to my Twitter every month with all the hats. So
Sweet. Yeah. Sounds good.
That's my New Year's resolution.
Yeah, that sounds good. And the Bardo's here with us. The Bardo's looking forward to some Chiefs action in the playoffs, as well as following the NHL. Happy New Year, Bardo. How you been, buddy?
Happy New Year. Doing much better than I was last month when COVID just ransacked my entire house.
COVID went through the rink.
Yeah.
It was brutal. Yeah. And our editor, our content editor, our director of content, and the number one nemesis right now of Minnesota Wild fans worldwide, Eric Andrews. What's up, buddy? How you doing, bud?
Not too much. Just been having plenty of fun with the Minnesota Wild fan base of late, and that's always a joy. Sean, you will have to dig out one extra hat because it is a leap year, so that you'll need 366 this year.
Oh, don't worry. I think I got it covered.
Got you, Sean.
Okay.
He got you. He was dialed in there.
Maybe it was down. I think I got you covered. Maybe I'll even wear a Minnesota North Stars hat on the day Brock Faber doesn't win the Calder.
Oh, well, let's get right into that. So Connor Bedard's timeline, folks. As we all know, Blackhawks are in misery right now because their star, and one of the reasons so many people have been tuning into the Chicago Blackhawks this year, Connor Bedard, the best rookie in the NHL right now. I don't think there's any debate about that.
Can you repeat that, please?
There is a debate. There is a debate.
Best rookie in the NHL. Just repeat it.
Yeah, best rookie
But
in the NHL.
his TOI is not as high as Brock Faber's.
Nope. His plus minus isn't great. So there is a certain fan base right now that hails from a northern state, that is pushing their candidate towards the Calder, and probably had quite a few laughs when Connor Bedard got hurt, which is really unfortunate. That there were those people that didn't, that were not. They weren't recognizing that this is a real injury. Connor Bedard, it was announced yesterday, is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks with a broken jaw. If the Blackhawks are lucky, if he heals fast, he could still be back by the end of February and should be a legitimate Calder candidate, even with if he only plays 60, 65 games. But the Calder race is taking on this whole different light because of one fan base that is pushing Brock Faber. Brock Faber, terrific hockey player. He's everything the Wild hoped they would be. But there seems to be this consensus that the hardware should be his. And this was the thought of certain fans while Bedard was healthy, which was wacky. Eric, no one finds this as wacky as you do. Try to talk about this without getting revved up as hard as it will be for all of us. But this has been really silly. Yeah, tell me more.
It has been. It certainly has been. I will try not to get too wound up. I mean, I know that might be hard for some people to believe, but yeah, I mean, some of you, I'm sure, have seen some exchanges on Twitter and have come across some Wild fans and stuff. And, let me start out. And, you mentioned it too, Andy. Brock Faber has had a very, very good season. He is a very solid player. He very likely will have an extremely good career as a pretty well-rounded shutdown type of defenseman. That's great. If I was a Wild fan, I'd be thrilled about that. You should be thrilled about it. That's awesome. I'd love to have him on the Blackhawks. Great player. Does that mean that he deserves to win the Calder Trophy? No. Does that take anything away from him? No.
Nope.
If it was a, quote unquote, an average year for rookies, meaning there isn't a generational superstar type of rookie like Connor Bedard, would Faber then be in the conversation? Sure. He'd probably be a slam dunk finalist in a normal year, and would warrant some legitimate consideration to win the award. But this is not one of those years. And even though Bedard is now hurt, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I mean, yes, he'll probably end up missing around 20 games. And will that kind of turn it into a conversation at least? Sure. If he was not hurt and played 82 games, there is no conversation.
Right.
Period. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that there's endless vitriol on Twitter about it and people pointing to, oh, he's playing 25 minutes a night. And, well, he can even play upwards of 30 minutes a night. And, he isn't, he doesn't have a terrible plus minus and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's fine and dandy. And, Dom Lucian had some article saying how his impact on the game is the best for all rookies. And that's probably one of my favorite arguments because people conveniently forget that Dom wrote a follow-up article saying that Bedard's metrics broke that model because of how extreme his usage and impact on the game has had. So he literally said, like, Bedard's numbers aren't accurate in this model because he's been too good to compute in this model.
Sense. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think it's a lot of Minnesota Wild fans just, tired of being mediocre and not having anything good going for them. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, Faber has been extremely good this year. And Brennan, I don't want to hear it right now from Mr. Brennan there, but no, we love Brennan. Shout out to the Rink Colorado. If you guys don't follow along with what they do,
we'll give you some vitriol, Brennan.
The Rink Colorado does an awesome job. But yeah, I mean, back to the whole Faber thing. I mean, it's just, it's kind of just laughable, honestly. I mean, again, he's a great player. He's had a great season, but that does not just inherently mean he deserves to win the Calder, especially in a year like this.
No, I mean, and I don't like the thing that's it is such a good year for rookies. It's insane. I mean, there are so many good rookies, Fantilli, Luke Hughes, Rossi, another guy, Evangelista in Nashville is having a hell of a year. But what's so funny is that like these Minnesota, the Brock Faber supporters, they talk about his ice time. And it is unbelievable. I mean, there's no rookie that is going to play that amount. I mean, Luke Hughes is still playing 20 minutes a night, but they keep pointing to plus minus. Okay. So then why isn't there this giant push for Connor Zary in Calgary, who's a center and he's plus 13 and, is still, he's got 9 goals and he's got 21 points and he's on a really mid-range hockey team. Why aren't we talking about Connor Zary? Nobody's talking about him. And it's just like Connor Bedard is still 9 points ahead in the rookie scoring race. He could come back and only be like 5 points behind. Like, I mean, it could even be that close. And if he's anywhere from 5 to 10 points behind, he'll make up that ground. And the bottom line, folks, is that offense is selling hockey right now. It just is. And I mean, we don't make the rules about, if there should be a shutdown defenseman, that should be considered for the Calder. I mean, where are you in this, Shawnee?
Yeah, I agree with Eric. And Gate shared with us, I think it was Puck Soup or it was, and they had basically said that in any other, this isn't like a Barrett Jackman year where Barrett Jackman is the only one to win the Calder Trophy. Connor Bedard clearly is head and shoulders better than everybody. He's lived up to the hype and exceeded it. Vegas, who, if they didn't get things right like this, they wouldn't have the lights on as long as they had. They have Connor Bedard at minus 150 as of today.
Right.
Luke Hughes plus 400, Brock Faber plus 550. So clearly the bettors and all the sharks think that Bedard's going to win the Calder Trophy. I understand liking your guy. I get defending your guy. But, like, at some point you have to be like, okay, Eric's got into arguments with guys where they've changed their argument. Like, well, no, we just want him to get recognition. He's getting recognition. Nobody's saying he's not a good player.
He's really good.
He's really good.
Yeah.
He's going to be really good. And he has to play that many minutes a night because Minnesota is not very good. And that's fine. But
and they have a ton of injuries too.
Yeah.
I think, Eric, to your point, that team is so mid and they're just stuck right there that they're like,
didn't they fire their coach already this year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Evison was fired early in the year. I mean, it wasn't.
One other thing too, that I like your point, Andy, about how right or wrong, it's just the reality of a lot of these awards lean more toward the offense instead of the defense or well-rounded aspect of a game. I mean, you look at the Norris Trophy, that's another perfect example of an award that follows that trend. I mean, is Erik Karlsson the best defenseman? No, of course not. If you're looking at the best defenseman, you're probably talking somebody like my guy, Jacob Slavin. Is he ever going to win a Norris? Right. No, of course not.
Seth Jones.
No.
Seth Orr. I
mean, if you look at the 3 finalists for Norris Trophy last year, it was all scoring defensemen. And it was Makar, it was Adam Fox, and then it was Karlsson, and Karlsson won, and it was all based on offensive production. Now, Makar, obviously, best two-way defenseman in the game. I mean, you can make that argument, but he was nominated with a 60-game season, and he had 66 points or something like that. But I mean, like, if plus-minus mattered, Hampus Lindholm was plus 49, was probably the best defensive defenseman in the NHL last season. He's not this year. But then there's no conversation about that. Go ahead, Bardo.
No, the other thing we also hear about with all of these awards is reputation. Like, a lot of guys win awards sometimes on the years where they don't have their best statistical year. It's a lot of it is built on reputation. So Bedard came in with a reputation as being, so overhyped generational player. And, the Hockey Writers Association, they're the ones that are saying that right now that he's exceeded expectations. So what does that tell you? Okay, he's taking a break for an injury for 20 games or whatever it is, and he's going to come back, most likely pick up where he left off, and, they're going to vote for him. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And he didn't exceed expectations, then then all of a sudden Faber and other guys are all going to, bubble up to the top. But yeah, I mean, this is like basically a guy who's come in with ridiculous expectations. We've all heard the stories about him, being hyped since he was 12, 13 years old. And it's just like ridiculous.
He's playing with AHL guys right now. And he's literally playing with AHL guys. Like Joey Anderson is a fringe NHL player. And Tuesday night, he was on the top line for the Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the talent level he's playing with.
Yeah,
Brock Faber at least has NHL players.
Yeah, I mean, he's 10 points higher than the next scorer, which is Philip Kurashev. I mean, it's just the other thing, and what cannot be ignored, I don't think, is that I think factoring in the fact that he's 18 and these other guys we're talking about are 21 and 22.
Yeah, exactly.
There is an enormous difference between an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old in terms of physical and mental development. We're not talking about a 43-year-old and a 46-year-old.
And he just turned 18 at the start of the season. This is an 18 in 10 months,
Yeah, he was the youngest player ever voted to the All-Star game in the history of the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Eric, to your point, and Sean, you mentioned this too. I think this is something where folks did not want their rookies ignored because they knew that the best rookie in the NHL was going to be the only thing that's talked about. And so that's where we're going. The awards don't make sense. They don't. I mean, look, somewhere along the line, I mean, look at the Selke Trophy. Somewhere along the line, someone said face-off percentage has to count for this. So you have an award that's called Best Defensive Forward that is guaranteed to be to a center every year. I mean, the last winger that won the award was Yuri Lehtinen. Open up the door and Lehtinen in 2003. And since then, it's been all centers. And I mean, obviously one of our most beloved players was never going to be considered for it, even though he was one of the best defensive forwards in the NHL. Yeah, Marion, we miss you and love you. But so the criteria for the awards don't make sense, and they're going to lean offense every single time. If there's an 18-year-old, no matter how many games he plays, that is near the top in scoring of the NHL or still wins the rookie scoring race, it's done. It's done.
Well, and another thing, I saw something, I forget who tweeted it out, but it was something about, like, again, it goes with, offensive production and shot generation and stuff like that. But With Connor Bedard on the ice, the Blackhawks are roughly an average team in the league in whatever those like 6 categories were that this person was posting about. Without him on the ice, they were 32nd in the league in every single one of those categories.
Right. Yeah. And they were in the teens on everything else.
Yeah. So if you know, you have all these Wild
Great
fans
stuff.
saying, well, Faber, you know, makes the biggest impact out of any rookie. Well, first of all, I don't know, you know, I mean, impact is really not a measurable thing, despite what, you know, whatever model Dom wants to come up with to try to measure that. But even if you're going to argue that, and I'm not saying that Faber isn't impactful, he is. But again, I mean, you look at that, you know, the offensive chance generation metrics and everything. I mean, just right there alone, it's like, okay, well, I would take that to mean that Connor Bedard is fairly impactful.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, if you polled 32 NHL GMs and 32 NHL coaches and you said you can have one rookie in the class of 23, 24 on your team, they all pick one name. And I'm sorry, the Minnesota GM and coach would not say Brock Faber. And if they do, congratulations. You know, that's cute.
And joining Dean Evison on the unemployment line.
Right. Exactly. That's cute and appreciate your loyalty. But there's not a soul out there that wouldn't say Connor Bedard is the one out of all those that I want on my team.
One other thing
I
wanted
because of projectability. It's because it's there. Sorry,
True.
Go ahead.
No, one other thing I wanted to throw in with this conversation too is I so badly wish that Alex Vlasic was eligible for the Calder. Yeah. He had played one too many games prior to this season to be eligible. But I mean, if you look at his metrics and everything too, they're very comparable to Faber's. And I've literally even seen Wild fans saying, oh, Faber is a top 15 defenseman in the league. He has been so good this year that he should even, you know, be in the Norris conversation and stuff. No, how many people are you seeing say that about Alex Vlasic? They're very comparable players. No one is dumb enough to say Alex Vlasic should be in the Norris conversation. They're both great players. They've had good seasons, but like it all comes back to being realistic. And, you know, like we've said, you know, yes, these people want Faber to be getting recognized and stuff, but being recognized and, you know, getting attention is different from being deserving of these awards. It's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, yeah, Eric, next time someone says, oh, you just wish you had Brock Faber, just be like, well, we do. His name's Alex Vlasic.
Yeah.
We've got him. We've got him. I don't know what the deal is there. So anyway, Minnesota fans, good luck to you on your quest and whatever teen first-round pick you get. I hope he's as good a stay-at-home defenseman as you need moving forward. And
I really hope that Brock Faber plays the whole season so that Bedard can still beat him for the Calder despite having only played 3/4 of the season.
That'd be awesome. Yep. Now, like we said, I mean, Minneapolis, that there might be some.
I believe Puck Zoop said there was a Northern Hit Squad will come and get you if you suggest otherwise. That Brock Faber doesn't win the Calder, so we better be aware of ourselves.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, good luck, Brock. You know, I know he got upset the other night. So he was minus 2 the other night. Don't tell anyone in Minnesota, since that's the stat that's really going to make the difference here.
Plus minus is going down.
Yeah. So brutal. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Kevin Thomas, I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
It's a really good opinion. I mean, and look at what happened to the team when Hossa retired. They were best in the West, had a first-round exit, and they were never the same after that. And then he retires. They were never the same.
No.
Never
they
the same.
couldn't replace it. They tried to bring Mini Hossa, Brandon Sada, and couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the World Juniors a little bit here. You know, we really haven't touched base too much on that, but the Hawks had 4 prospects. The USA, obviously a really convincing win. Bardo, did you enjoy the World Junior Tournament as much as I did? And what were some of your takeaways, not only from the Hawks prospects, but Team USA or even some other prospects that you watched where you're like, God, these kids are good?
Yeah, I did. I actually, I watched a decent amount of it. I would say about half of it, because I was away. But I came away, feeling good about, how the Blackhawks prospects did for sure. I mean, Nazar started off, or however you pronounce it, Nazar. He was very good most of the way. I think he got a little bit quiet towards the end. Oliver Moore was very good. What's his name? Adam Gajan,
Diane, yeah.
Guyan. I don't know how you pronounce it. So
Yeah.
I just pulled a Sean. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, come on, that's my
Yeah.
thing.
That's your job. Yeah, I
My
know.
bit.
No, he was really good.
He's special.
I thought his team made a mistake benching him that one
Yeah.
game. I mean, I didn't like that move.
No.
I thought it kind of took a little bit away from him. But I would have just played him out. But also, as far as the disappointment goes, shout out to my UMass guy, Michael Harabel.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, he didn't have a good tournament.
Brutal.
Yeah,
He was
Eric, you
bad.
mentioned it. You said, man, we got the right one. We got the right one in the draft. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought Sam Renzel looked really good. But again,
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, it goes back to the point I made, I've made a couple of times on this podcast, is that, seeing these guys mature and actually develop is so good to see.
Yeah.
It's like Renzel looked lost in like, when we seen him in high school and previously he wasn't ready. I mean, he's a kid, but I mean, we're actually seeing progression, which is great.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I like that.
Sam Renzel, folks, a freshman at University of Minnesota right now, 19, turned 19 in June. He was the Blackhawks 25th overall pick in the first round of the 2022 draft. Odds are, though, folks, you're not going to see him for a while. He will definitely go back to Minnesota for a sophomore year, if not a junior year. Oliver Moore had limited minutes.
Yeah.
It looked like, he kind of had some mop-up duty. Does anyone know why? I never really know. I mean, obviously the team was stacked.
I think that's exactly why. I think he was stacked, and I think they wanted to give him sort of like a taste. And I think you'll see him next year get more playing time. But I thought actually he maximized the time that he had. I thought he played well in his limited minutes. And I think he proved that he's going to have I would say probably a top 6 spot. I mean, I don't know enough about who's coming back, who's not, but I would say he's got a good shot at being a top 6, maybe at worst a middle 6 guy next year.
Yeah, I mean he's 19 later this month, so he's going to be World Junior eligible. He will definitely be on that team next year.
Absolutely.
Which is great, which is super exciting. Eric, is in terms of Frank Nazar or Nazar, depending on how we choose to pronounce it.
And whatever I say it as.
And whatever Sean says. Terrific playmaking ability. I think that it really whet the appetite for a lot of Blackhawk fans about his future. I guess the big question is right now, he missed the majority of his freshman year last year at the University of Michigan because he tore his ACL. He came back pretty strong. He's had a great season this season. Is this a guy they try to sign when the Michigan season ends? He will be Rockford eligible by age, I believe, next fall. So he could play in Rockford next fall, or is it in his best interest to go back to Ann Arbor for another year and finish out another year? How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this does not apply just to him. This applies to all of the Blackhawks prospects and everybody in this tournament. It's important to understand that this is just kind of a measuring stick type of event against guys within their same age group and age range. Yep. So just because one guy looks amazing doesn't mean he's going to be the superstar guy next year. So people need to keep that in mind. You see a lot of people kind of overreacting to the World Juniors, putting too much stock into how guys perform positively or negatively. So, just keep that in mind. I mean, yes, if you have a performance like Bedard did last year, probably a good indicator he'll be pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. But, even let's talk about Nazar, how we were. He had, I think it was, 8 primary assists throughout the tournament. And, that's really encouraging. Does that mean he's going to be Joe Thornton? No. But I mean, his playmaking was extremely evident. I mean, you could just see how effective he was setting up his line mates throughout the entire course of the tournament. And, kind of touching on one thing you mentioned earlier about Moore starting out as the 13th forward, kind of how the U.S. roster was built heading into the tournament was you kind of had these almost like predetermined lines of guys who had played together before. So you had like the Boston College line, and then you had kind of like the Michigan State line, with Nazer and Brindley and Isaac Howard, so it's kind of like they had these predetermined groups, playing together. So I think that's kind of why Moore was on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But then, Gavin Hayes had his little incident, and, unfortunately he was not overly noticeable throughout the tournament. A lot of that was he just didn't play that much. That's okay.
I think his projectability is a bottom 6.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Which is fine. He just got traded too, didn't he, Sean? He just got traded.
Yeah.
Sioux Greyhounds, is that where he's off to now?
Yeah. Eric shared that in our Rink chat and kind of scared the crap out of me. I was like, he got traded. What?
Sorry.
Not like that.
Mental nap while we're talking about the World Juniors.
Yeah, but anyway, sorry.
No.
Back to Nazer turning pro. I mean, I've seen a lot of Hawks fans, jumping on the bandwagon of, get him to the UC as soon as Michigan's season is over and all that. Why? Why do we
to play with this group?
Yeah, well, that too. But I mean, Davidson has been so clear about doing this the right way, doing a slow build, not rushing guys, making sure they develop, making sure they're ready. Why would they throw Nazer into the NHL this spring?
No, that makes no sense. I mean, I do understand fans' impatience, though. I mean, it's been a rocky ride for a few years, so I understand the kind of let's. Yeah,
but still, I do think with him, it does matter that he missed the majority of last season. That's a year pretty much of his development that he missed out on.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, 13 games. That was it. I mean, I think he goes back to Michigan. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they try to sign him and they do put him in Rockford, but I don't think nothing wrong with him going back to Michigan and trying to dominate.
Absolutely. I mean, if he, I think ultimately that decision comes down to, do they feel it's almost kind of like a Kevin Korchinski situation. Is he ready for this step? Maybe not. But is going back going to just kind of be a waste of time? I think that's where the decision comes in with Nazer. Is he still going to get something out of playing at Michigan next year versus would it be a waste of time? And maybe he's not quite ready for Rockford, but maybe that's the better route. So I think that's kind of the decision that they'll be looking at, this spring or this summer, this fall, whatever it might be.
Yeah. But Rockford wouldn't shock me. I don't know.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
No.
That's fine. Should be in Chicago, though.
No, I don't think
No.
No, you can't have no goals and 7 primary assists playing against kids your age, and then all of a sudden
you're on the top line with Connor Bedard.
You also have to remember there's also an entire spring of college hockey to be played, including the tournament. So if he starts to have a great second half and dominates and puts himself in the Hobie conversation, or maybe is leading his team in tournament, those are going to be factors for him and the team to consider whether or not he leaves. So we only have a half a season sample size right now.
Well,
go ahead.
If other guys leave Michigan, like let's say other guys leave Michigan and his role changes, or he gets more minutes, or he moves up, because I don't think he's playing on is he playing on the top line?
No, I mean he's a point per game player. He's 18 points, 18 games. I mean, that's not overwhelming.
Right. So
that doesn't put him in the top. I don't even think in the top 10 of NCAA scoring. So I mean, he has a lot to refine and a lot to do.
I mean, they have a very deep team as it is. I mean, you look at the U.S. World Junior roster. They have Gavin Brindley. They have Rucker McGroarty. I mean, those are 2 very good players right there as it is.
Yeah.
So it's not even like he's the guy at Michigan, because he's not.
No. Yeah. So I agree with Eric.
The other 2. Way up there, yeah. McGroarty and Gavin Brindley. Well, there's also there's another player on that World Junior team that has been in the NHL news this week for some very interesting reasons. Connor Gauthier, draft pick of the Philadelphia Flyers. I think he 4th overall. Eric, is that right? 5th overall in the 2022 draft. Played plays at Boston College, was lights out Boston College last year, didn't sign with the Flyers, returned for his sophomore season, was fabulous in the World Junior Tournament. And now, it was 2 days ago, was traded to the Anaheim Mighty Ducks for
Drysdale, right?
Jim Drysdale.
Drysdale.
Yeah.
Anaheim Ducks for Drysdale and a second-round pick. I actually think Philadelphia got a really nice return.
They did.
Because that second-round pick is going to be a pretty high pick because Anaheim is not doing – they're not where they're going to be at a few years from now.
And Drysdale's 21. If he stays healthy, that's his big thing is injuries. So
but he's 21. He had a really good game last night in his Philadelphia debut. He had an assist and was awesome. But what is going on here? I mean, this is really weird. Kevin Hayes has been brought into it by some blogger from Philadelphia who has decided to just, what it sounds like, make something up. Or a buddy of his told him Kevin Hayes was involved, and he's just believing all of it. I don't know if any of you heard John Tortorella's interview last night. I thought it was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
While he's always good for a soundbite, some nights you're like, wow, he's just really bitter and just don't mess with Torts tonight. You don't know what direction this is going to go in. He was spot on. Sean, did you hear that last night? What Torts said?
I didn't actually. No, I missed what Tortorella said.
Well, so he got up to the mic and he just said, "Excuse me, is the guy who's in here? Is the guy in here who said that about Kevin Hayes and what is his name? Stanley something? I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Random Stanley Goodspeed, like
Stanley Goodspeed.
Yeah.
You haven't seen The Rock, folks? 1996, great movie.
Great movie.
And the guy just owned it. He's like, yeah, right here. And Torts was just kind of like, what is your problem? Like, what does it matter? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And what I like what Torts said about it too is the one thing he said was, look, yeah, Kevin Hayes and I had a disagreement about something, but he's a good man. Like, he's a really good man. And he's basically like solidified that he and Kevin Hayes are fine with each other. Like, there's nothing going. And to all you bloggers out there and all you people that, want to become famous for trying to be in the know first and trying to get the news out there before anybody else, you can really do a lot of harm. Kevin Hayes.
We've seen it here. We've seen it here with the story with Corey Perry.
Yeah.
Like, everybody making those salacious rumors about, I'm not even going to dignify it again, but
yeah,
it's just,
but I mean, the things that people are DMing and writing to Kevin Hayes right now,
it's awful.
It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And a guy who's been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Lost his brother.
Yeah, he lost his brother. And he's a hell of a hockey player, and it sounds like he's a great dude. And, he's just, he just one day wakes up and goes, what'd I do? Like, what is going on?
He didn't sign with the Blackhawks how many years ago, and people were trying to connect that dot. Like, he didn't, who cares? He wasn't going to play here. There wasn't a spot for him. So he did what is best for him.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what comes down to. You do what's best for you.
Right.
And from what I heard, Philadelphia didn't want to give Gauthier, I think I got that right.
Pretty close.
The schedule bonuses. They didn't want to give him like Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 because they didn't want overages.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you earn those bonuses, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, if you earn those bonuses, you go. It carries over to the following year's cap, and that's why they didn't want to sign him for that. And I know years ago, Lou Lamoriello, when he was with Toronto, tried to take a stand on that, and that didn't work out. The players were like, we're not going to sign, and he caved and gave him the bonuses. So I don't understand why, as a team that's Philadelphia is not very good, they're rebuilding sort of. Like, why wouldn't you do that? What's Briere thinking there? But
yeah, I don't know, Eric. You're always good with cap and bonuses and stuff like that. What do you think of this whole? I mean, this is also just potentially another rumor. I mean,
it could be hearsay. Yeah,
but
I mean, I believe it was Elliot Friedman who had been saying that. So I mean, it very well could be that was part of this issue, but I believe Connor Gauthier was on an Anaheim Ducks podcast either today or yesterday, kind of talking about it a little bit. He didn't really come out and say why, which, I mean, there's nothing forcing him to do that, but I think it would also probably behoove him to get out in front of this a little bit and kind of give some sort of explanation here.
Right.
But he said something to the effect of that over the course of his time in the Flyers organization, that there have been a couple of recurring issues that have been taking place, and that those were very concerning things to him. And he kind of just came to his senses and said, I don't want to deal with I don't want to have to deal with these things. So I don't want to play there. Now, again, like I said, he didn't say what those things were, and that's fine. There's nothing forcing him to do that. But again, it's, like what Sean said, it's kind of like the Corey Perry thing, where if nothing is really said, then it's just going to open the door to all these rumors and people speculating, and, oh, he hates John Tortorella, and Kevin Hayes said that, and none of that's true. So, yeah.
He hates Gritty. Like, I mean, you never know.
Was this brewing for a long time? Because I felt like this came out of left field.
It came out of left field as far as the public perception of it. Yep. But apparently this dates back to last spring or last summer. After the World Championships, apparently that's kind of when things started to go sour. And then he refused to go to the Flyers development camp over the summer and has refused to have any communication with them in the time since.
I mean, I think it could have been handled better on his end. And,
absolutely.
And that's really the big takeaway for me, is that I just think it was poorly handled. And, the fact that it's been sort of this big hush-hush campaign, as Eric said, has sort of enabled all these rumors to come out. And, as far as reporter, I mean, I don't know if he has an axe to grind or if he had a bad experience with, somebody, or he's just got a poor source, but whatever. But yeah, that was just awful what he did with involving Kevin Hayes and his family. So
this is something I hope, we don't know what happened. And we hope that it wasn't something like super offensive or anything, but if it was something that was kind of where the Flyers were very confused, this is something that could follow, Cutter for a while.
And it will.
And it will. And I don't think Danny Briere's comments on it helped Connor Gauthier and how he looks to Philadelphia fans, because I mean, Danny Briere did a very nice job. I mean, he came out and said, we this has been going on for a while. We chose not to talk about it because we wanted to protect this kid, because he's a young kid and we didn't want a smear campaign out against him, which is completely the right thing to do. I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. And then Danny Briere does the next best thing for his hockey club, which is get a really good return and move the kid.
That's what I was going to say too. I mean, you don't want to put that out there because then the kid's value just drops like a rock,
100%, right? 100%. So he had to go behind the scenes and work at it. And the other thing that a lot of people now, the big speculation is that Anaheim is just stockpiling talented forwards, and people are wondering. And he just got injured as well, which is too bad. Trevor Zegras is going to be out for about 6 to 8 weeks too. But now there are rumors that the idea was to get Gauthier and maybe move Zegras, which is possible. I don't know. The jury's out on Zegras, I think, as a player. I don't, I mean, he's great for a Michigan goal and he's great for some highlights, but I mean, as far as, tangible hockey stuff that you need in the NHL, they've got a bunch of those guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's someone that they consider expendable for a different style of hockey player.
I saw something, this is kind of, make of it what you will, but it was just an interesting comparison that I saw someone make the other day, saying that Trevor Zegras is the hockey version of Justin Fields.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's tough.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of true. I mean, there's some validity there. A polarizing player, do you like their playing style? Do you not? Do you believe that can be successful or not? But yeah, I was listening to NHL Network Radio today, actually, and I forget who it was. Some insider was on, and they were saying that they thought the Zegras trade speculation would probably be more so an off-season thing than an in-season thing. And that's especially now, with his injury, obviously true.
I actually was talking to somebody the other day about that, and I said I think it's an off-season thing when they have more teams that would possibly consider him. But as far as his upside goes, from what I've seen of him in the NHL, I think right now it's middle six kind of center. I don't see him right now as a number one guy, and he could end up that way, but right now I'm seeing kind of more middle six-ish.
Or a winger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Darren Dreger said that he was joking around, but he said the Habs should be in on him, I believe is what he said. And Montreal should be the one making a real push for him in the offseason. So,
yeah, I don't, it's interesting. I think Mason McTavish is a much better value prospect right now than Trevor Zegras.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can say that about a lot of the Ducks. So,
is this their second rebuild? And haven't they been rebuilding for a while now? Because I don't know.
I mean, they were a game away from going to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2015.
Yeah,
and then the Hawks, they were a game away and they had 2 games to spare. They were up 3-2.
Yeah.
On the Hawks, and the Hawks came back and they kept on. I think they had some decent years. So I guess I don't know if you can do 2 rebuilds during that time, but maybe. I don't know. It's crazy. That was 10 hockey seasons ago. 9 years and 10 hockey seasons ago. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sabres have done that. So
Sabres, yeah, that's true. So you can definitely do that. I want to stay with the NHL here for a few more minutes, and then we're going to talk about some international hockey and something that came up today. But I'd like to, if we can right now, talk about real cup contenders. And each one of you, let's pick one team in the West and one team in the East who you think are going to meet in the Stanley Cup Finals. Take your time. I can go first. What's crazy to think about is the dumpster fire of the 2 organizations, the Vancouver Canucks and the Winnipeg Jets were this time last season, and where they are right now and how quick things can all change. I mean, those 2 teams are leading the West, which is crazy. The Blackhawks are playing the Jets right now. Anyone know the score?
It was nothing.
Scoreless after 1.
Perfect. So the Hawks are winning. That's the closest. That's the closest they'll get to a win tonight.
And Mrazek got the start again tonight. No solid one.
But the 2 best teams in the NHL right now are the Jets and the Canucks. That's crazy to think about, considering what happened last year. So, is anyone ready? Since I put you on the spot, I'd be happy to go first. But if anyone's ready, I'm not.
Do we have to pick different teams?
No.
Okay.
Why not? Let's have some fun with it.
So San Jose is eliminated.
I think they might. Chicago could be too.
Mathematically, we don't know. Yeah.
I'll throw out a couple. One team that has been very impressive of late, and obviously has the playoff pedigree at this point out of the East would be the Florida Panthers. And I think they've looked very good.
Won 8 in a row.
And Matthew Tkachuk is finally starting to put things together offensively again. So obviously that's very encouraging for them. Yep. So I would say they have right now about as good of a shot as anybody coming out of the East. Yep. For the West, I don't know. Part of me still feels like this could be Dallas's year. They just play that style of game where they can beat you so many different ways. I mean, it's almost like how the Hawks were at their peak, where any way you want to play the game, they can do it, and they can do it better than you can.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I am a Golden Knights fan at heart too. So, they're the reigning champs, and they still have the vast majority of that roster back again this year. So, they're the champs until someone knocks them off. But yeah, I don't know. I still feel like if, really right now, it seems like Jake Ottinger is really the only thing not going well for the Stars. So, if he can figure that out,
right.
Ooh, that's a scary team.
Yeah, that's okay. So you like Dallas and Florida?
That's what I'll go with.
Bettman's worst nightmare.
I think Arizona would be his dream. I'll go. I'll throw out the Colorado Avalanche.
Okay.
News came out today that Gabriel Landeskog is going to start skating.
That's great. That's awesome. And
there's a possibility he could be back for the playoffs at some point. So even if he like doesn't have like he's not the same player he was, I think that'll give them like the emotional lift.
That's outstanding news because he's something else. He's a hell of a hockey player, and he hasn't played in 18 months.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Colorado out of the West.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just a really good team.
Well, I think the Central's tough. I mean, 5 points separate the 3 top teams in the Central right now.
Yeah, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Dallas, they're just crazy.
Yeah. So you like Colorado? Who do you like?
Like Colorado, and then I will go with. See, it's tough in the East because I don't know. I'll just go with the New York Rangers. I'll just throw the Rangers out there. Nice. Why not? Because, I'm going to steal one of Bardo's teams. I know Bardo was probably going to pick the Rangers.
I was not. I actually am not. I was not going to pick the Rangers. I have my team.
Doing that.
I have my team, and I'll tell you exactly why.
All right.
So
go ahead, Bardo.
My East team actually is Boston, and I'll tell you why. Because
he's going for it.
And I'll tell you why. We've seen in the past teams that win the President's Trophy and just get absolutely like embarrassed in the first round, and then
Vancouver, I believe, was one of them.
Vancouver was one. Tampa Bay was one. Remember, they lost to Columbus and came back and won the Cup. So they went back to back, I think. So, I mean, I think Boston, to me, is going to be sort of flying under the radar because even if they win the division, I think expectations are going to be kind of low for them. But I could see them, the way they play, I could see them making a run.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
And we also, here's the other thing about Boston. We know they're going to be aggressive at the deadline.
Yep, I was just going to say that.
Sit on their hands.
Are they going to have the stones to trade one of their goalies?
Yes.
That's because that might be the only way that they could get what they need.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they could trade them out west.
They have no young bargaining chips.
Yeah. And I think that's fine. I think it's a matter of just getting like cheap help.
Yeah.
And getting depth.
They just seem like they feel like I like that take. They just seem like that they're missing something. They really do. And I don't. But
what's interesting is that the other team that I was going to say, which Shawnee just said, was Colorado, because I think they're a team that's missing something, and right. I think they're another team that I think is going to be very aggressive at the deadline. I think they're going to address the center position. I think they're going to address the bottom six. I think they're going to be very, very aggressive at the deadline, and I think they're going to go for it too.
Yeah, I think Boston is also, it's dependent on their first round matchup. I mean, if they get the New York Islanders, even though the New York Islanders beat them a couple of years ago, I think they take care of that. I think they win that series. If they get Tampa Bay, flip a coin.
Yeah.
And then I think who knows if the New Jersey Devils can get healthy and get back in this too.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. Okay, and who do you got out west?
I mean, Colorado, I know it was already taken, but that's the team. And, I think it's very similar to what you said about Boston, is that I feel like they're missing something, but I think they're another team that I think is going to be aggressive at the deadline. Johansson has been kind of falling off the radar. I feel like they're going to find another big time center, whether that's Lindholm or somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to add another defenseman. So I think they're going to be okay. And then Landeskog, if they can get anything out of him. But like you said, Sean, I think the emotional piece of it is something that we can't look past. But I do think they're going to be aggressive at the deadline as well.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to go with Eric out of the West. I'm going to go with Dallas. I like Dallas. I like their game. I know that we DM'd about this when they were playing the Blackhawks in that very bizarre back-to-back games in Dallas about how they can beat you. And they just have so many different ways that they can do it. And they're winning games in all sorts of different ways. And they just kind of have all these like understudy players that are really, they don't really have that whole, flash to them, and I just think that, players like Robertson and Sagan and their D-core, I mean, they just kind of show up and they play. Like they just play hockey.
Well coached.
Yeah. And they do a really, really good job. I think our buddy Jacob, how you doing, pal? He likes Colorado coming out of the West. Good take. As far as the East, my heart wants to say Carolina. I always see Carolina as like this team that's just like lying around in the weeds, and then all of a sudden they turn it on a little bit. I would love if they could find that extra gear and do it. I think the East is really up for grabs. And this is totally insane what I'm about to say. But the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be in the Stanley
Cup. Whoa.
They have their contract stuff behind them for at least a little while. And I am going Leafs to the finals.
Wow.
It's crazy. That's great. It's nuts. It's nuts. Just because I don't want to pick anyone else because it's a controversial pick and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, one thing on Carolina, by the way, is Kochetkov, the goalie, just left the game injured, and Ronta's in net. Blackhawks legend.
Chicago Wolves legend.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna eat that at some point. I don't know why I picked.
I'm with you because I feel like they look so good all the time, and they're so well coached, and they just find a way to screw it up.
Yeah, well, I think Jeff was writing in. I think Gate. Hi, Gate. I think he was writing in about Rod the Bod and Carolina, who are also very well coached. So, but I think the East is I don't know. I do think the West is going to win the Cup again. I do. Who knows? It's up for grabs.
Don't look now, but my original Stanley Cup pick, the Seattle Kraken, have won 7 in a row. They're still terrible, but they've won 7 in a row.
I don't even remember what my original pick was. I think it was Dallas. I can't remember what my other.
Mine was Seattle.
I think it was Dallas and Carolina, but I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, the Florida Panthers. I mean, they're 2 points away from taking over first place. All of a sudden, they just turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's it to that point, Jeff. On cue, Jeff. Is it Florida's year? It might be. It might be. They need to figure out what to do with Nick Cousins, though. Boy, that was fun listening to Kevin Bieksa take off on him. Nick Cousins does not play a very clean hockey game. Before we close up tonight, we want to talk about something that happened on the international stage in hockey that was just announced a few hours ago, that the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, announced that for the World Championships this summer, that Team Israel is no longer invited to participate. And for reasons being the safety of their players and the safety of others, I believe. I don't know. I haven't seen the actual statement. I've just seen a few tweets about it. Bardo, is that correct? That they just basically said you're not invited because it's not safe for you or anyone else if you're here?
Yeah, the statement basically said, and I'll read this from the Hockey News, that that its council, the IIHF, released a statement that its council decided to, quote, restrict the Israeli national team from participating in IIHF championships until the safety and well-being of all participants, including Israeli participants, can be assured. The governing body of the International Ice Hockey added it has a duty to protect all its participants at IIHF competitions and made this decision after discussions with other participating countries, tournament hosts, and risk assessment. So the issue here is that restrict sounds like that's sort of implying a little bit of pushing away, because quite frankly, did they talk to the Israeli, ice hockey team and their leadership?
Yeah.
Go on anywhere.
Well, no, I just say, what was that one comment you said that what did they say that they were obligated to do? It was their duty or responsibility. What was the term that they used?
It was to protect all participants at IIHF competitions.
Yeah.
That's a joke to me. I'm sorry, but
what is your responsibility? Be a bunch of assholes?
Yeah. I mean, it just,
How many years have they allowed Russia to play with players that have been on KHL teams that are funded by like Russian mobsters? Like, legitimately,
is Israeli hockey appealing this decision? Does anyone know?
They're actually, I think they're suing is what the latest.
Great. Good. Okay. So then clearly they had no say in this whatsoever.
Exactly.
They had no choice in the matter. They were not consulted on this. They didn't contact the International Ice Hockey Federation and say, hey, we're worried about the safety of our players. This was a unbelievable anti-Semitic decision.
I mean, Israel has been an international target in these types of sporting events going back to 1972 and then
Yeah, of course.
hostages in
Munich.
Of course. Yeah,
So
but
go back to that. So why now? And and it's like, quite frankly, after 9/11, did the IIHF ban the U.S. because they were a target and there was
What
a
about
security concern?
what about the Iraq War? Was the USA banned when the USA invaded Iraq or Afghanistan?
I don't know. This is
give me a
There's
break.
way more to this than
Really
security
poor.
concerns.
This is
I'm sorry, but
really poor judgment.
yeah, Israel, like you said, was not even consulted in this because obviously they're suing now. So
Right, and I read one part. I mean, what they have some preliminary games in some second tier division or something of that, and is that what they're being told they cannot participate in?
That I didn't see, but I also can tell you is that if you look at the other countries that are participating in this Division II level tournament in in Belarus in the spring, there's other countries in there that are probably more, targets or basically our security threat, let's call them, than others. I'm not going to name names, but you could do the math and figure that out. So it's a total disgrace.
Oh, it's terrible. That's just terrible. I mean, I'm so sick of stuff like this coming up, and then all you hear is that phrase, "Hockey is for everyone." Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Shout out to Colby Cohen for retweeting this and putting his opinions out there.
Yep.
Not a huge Colby Cohen guy on his takes, but he had the right take on this one. I agree with him
absolutely.
on that one.
That is just, what a shame.
Why is it that international organizations just can't, like FIFA the Olympic Committee, the World Cup, like they all can't get it right.
They're all corrupt organizations. They're run by a lot of guys, men, quite frankly, who are very old school, who are kind of set in their ways, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, they get paid money.
They don't read the room. They listen to the wrong people. That's what it comes down to.
It's really
secret. Let's call a spade here. So
this is pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
And what a shame. I mean, you think that, there's obviously a lot going on with a conflict right now with Israel and Palestine, but the one thing that, I think that a lot of folks that are impacted by this take solace in is being able to participate in sports. And to just say, no, you're not welcome to do that is really wrong. I don't really know what else to say.
Sports is supposed to be, fun, entertainment. It's supposed to be, a breakaway from regular life. It's drama. It's
like, I know
it brings people together. It's kind of it's the unified global
Hockey
language.
Canada. Yeah. Gates at hockey. The Olympics motto is bigger, or it's like bigger, faster, stronger, or something. Like that's the point. Just to be, to compete against the best in the world and show that, and the camaraderie and the unity, like all that stuff. Like when North and South Korea came together to play as one team in hockey in the Olympics. Like that's what international competition is supposed to be about.
Well, I mean, it's
just wrong.
To Gates' point with referencing Hockey Canada, folks, Hockey Canada and their World Junior teams in past years, the number of accusations around sexual misconduct have been well documented. I don't see any scenario where someone's going to say Canada can't play in a tournament.
Nope.
And that's action of players. I don't.
And I don't think we ever got a resolution to what that investigation yielded.
No, it's I think it's still ongoing. I know that we're talking about the team. I think it was the 2018 team. I don't think that
with Boris Kachuk and Taylor Radish on
right. I don't think that has come to a resolution or a conclusion. I forgot the name of I think his last name is Wellstat. He's the columnist that has been following that, and if he's David Wellstat, I believe is his name.
Yeah,
sound right. He covets this quite well.
Rick Westhead too.
Rick Westhead. Sorry,
he's
David Wellstat. Who's David?
Sorry,
Wellstat?
I was giving you osmosis there. That's all that was.
Appreciate it. No, but Rick Westhead does really. Oh, and then you left. Oh, okay. Right. Nice mic drop. Oh. So anyway, the International Ice Hockey Federation, shame on you.
Yeah.
And that's the stance from the rink. And I hope that whatever actions are taking place, from Israeli hockey, that justice is served and that they're allowed to participate and they're allowed to play. So, any other closing thoughts, gentlemen, tonight on what has been a very fun hour seeing you all and chatting up Hawks and some hockey?
Shout out to the Lake Forest women's college hockey team. I had the pleasure of sitting in front of them at a Hawks game the other night. They're an exceptional bunch of ladies, and wish them the best on the rest of their season. They're 9-7 right now.
Go Foresters.
Go Foresters.
Hey, you got a former Lake Forest College employee right here, man.
Hey,
my wife's a Lake Forest College alum. Yeah.
Midwest Conference. They're in for all the sports. I was
Monmouth College.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Great
place. Any other shout outs, guys, or tidbits, things that hockey fans or Hawks fans?
Mark Scheifele out for the rest of the game, lower body injury.
Oh, no.
That ain't good. More injuries in this league. Jeez.
Yeah, there's really, it seems.
Connor McDavid is very upset with replay. He doesn't like that it takes too long. So
that was pretty.
All the quarterbacks went down. Now the NHL's like, here, hold my beer. So ridiculous.
All right, folks. Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And we will be back with more frequency now that most of our guys here at the rink are off the IR. And go Hawks. Let's hope for a speedy recovery for Connor Bedard and that he is still in the Calder race, and rightly so. And we'll be back with more topics, whether they are Blackhawks related or NHL related, in due time.
And be Minnesota nice to everybody.
Be Minnesota nice, folks. That's what's important.
Especially you, Eric.
I'll try.
Don't go to the XL Energy Center. They throw popcorn at you.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, take care, folks. Have a good night and go Hacks.